Absolutely, and in fact, we can perhaps, challenge China, because let's not forget that as a creditor, it can be extremely ruthless and unpredictable. Something that at least India, the Middle East, Europe, and the United States can work towards not being as unreliable and unpredictable as China has been as a creditor. On that note, let me bring in Abhishek. How can India, Europe, and the United States, along with the Middle East, work towards making a better version of an economic corridor, something perhaps that China could not really manage?
You see, China did try to manage everything at one go, but then the credibility of Chinese debt has been under severe criticism, and that is one of the reasons why there is a growing disbelief that China is trying to invest in their country, in their respective project for the host country's benefit. People have now realized that the Chinese interest in such investment is a long game that China wants to play in several regions and smaller countries, and there comes this surprise by the group of countries from Europe, USA, and Middle East and West Asia, who have gathered together on the sidelines of G20 summit level talks in Delhi, and they have announced this mega project. The financing of the project, the fine tuning of the project, how will it start, where all it will go, what all will be the connectivity, that fine tuning is still awaited, but we know for now that digital economy, having a green corridor connecting through rail and ship, is something that the leaders have discussed upon. Initially, it was believed that India, USA, UAE, and Saudi will be probably working around this project, but now when the announcement was made, we could see President Macron, also European Union President, was also very much present there, German Chancellor was present. So collectively it has become a project of US, Europe, West Asia and India. India has not committed any financing of this project, but we can assume that the kind of digital infrastructure and digital expertise India has created over the last several years, that is something that India wants to share with the world. And green energy, green hydrogen is something that is again at the core of this project. We know that West Asia has been minting money for the last several decades on the oil reserves, but they have also realized that the oil source is going to deplete. World is very fastly moving towards energy transition, and this is something that is the best time for them to invest in other projects that will have their economy sustained in the upcoming years when the oil sources will be gone. And this is one of the reasons why West Asia, UAE, Saudi, they have shown also interest in this infrastructure project and green energy project as well.
Right. And perhaps something that even Joe Biden is coming to terms with, Siddhant. You heard what Abhishek is saying. He's made some very significant points over there. And the fact that, we all witnessed Joe Biden and MBS together in the same room, not just, sitting, but in fact interacting together. And the body language seemed quite reassuring. And that is perhaps a message that Joe Biden, as the US president, also acknowledges the need, the reliance and the importance as far as Saudi Arabia is concerned in the oil and energy market. Having said that, my second part of the question is going to be, Siddhant, about the fact, is now Joe Biden finally capitalizing on that hole? Has he finally managed to fill in that hole that was left behind by the absence of a Putin and Xi Jinping?
Very right, Akanksha, allow me to speak for some time. Basically, the Gulf countries were not very happy with the American attitude since Joe Biden became the Prime Minister of America, because during Trump's administration there was enough focus on these Gulf nations, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and perhaps there were many state visits, high-level delegational exchanges. But since Trump's presidency, all focus got shifted to Indo-Pacific, and that was perhaps not going down really well with these Gulf nations. And then America realized that now China is increasingly, becoming more active and influential in Gulf. The recent example of the settling of that dispute with the Chinese help, the dispute between Saudi Arabia and Iran. That is perhaps was a setback for American policymakers. And I remember, right, maybe in next 20 days there was a sudden announcement of Jake Sullivan's trip to Saudi Arabia, where from India NSA Doval participated, and the counterparts from UAE and Saudi Arabia, they all sat together, and for the first time, how should I say, that the roadmap for this economic connectivity project was prepared in the month of May. And then there were a series of other meetings also which took place, and yesterday it was announced. So I don't remember the last time when Biden and President Biden and Mohammed bin Salman met, or have they ever done a bilateral meeting. To the best of my knowledge, they have not, but I could be missing out on some of their visits. But what happened yesterday
in
was
fact, on that
unexpected,
note,
because,
I'm going to bring in Abhishek. Yes. Because, there's another crucial aspect to this relationship, and that is the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, a journalist, which was casting a shadow. Abhishek, if you could share in your inputs about how Jamal Khashoggi's murder did cast, its shadow as far as the US-Saudi relationship is concerned. And we, in fact, did see it also have an impact on the earlier meeting that took place when the US president visited the Saudi Crown Prince as well. We witnessed the stiffness in their body language. He also took jibes at MBS. But seeing this meeting take place yesterday, what were your thoughts? Is this now a thing of the past?
Akanksha, what we see in diplomacy, that there is the maturity among the leaders is that the communication line should never be cut, and they should always meet and have some conversation. If we talk about differences, India and China have a lot of differences, but we did see how Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping did find some time to discuss and talk on the sidelines of BRICS summit level talks in Johannesburg, and that was not that structured format bilateral talk that the two leaders had, but these gestures show that we do want to engage, but on our terms. Talking about Khashoggi, that was one of the lowest point in the bilateral relationship of US and Saudi. It brought to the fore various issues that USA had been ignoring about the socio-political life of Saudi Arabia. At one go, the murder of Khashoggi in the embassy did bring out the overall media curve that the Saudi embassy, Saudi countries wanted. They did not care about his citizenship, and for a very long time they did not tell the world whether they were behind this. We saw some sort of cover up also happening. Few officials from Saudi, they were handed down some sentences. Some investigation did happen, but we know that it was done on the behest of Saudi's government, and so that incident remained one of the sore point in the bilateral relationship. However, the political realities and the maturity says that the two sides should not be stuck on one issue, and they should move ahead, because there is a larger and ample space where the two sides need to engage. US wants to continue its presence and heft in West Asia. China, which has brokered the recent peace deal in between Saudi and Iran, and we have seen so many countries establishing their relationship with Israel. The geopolitical scenario in West Asia is fast changing. So will US heft in terms of military might, financing of various projects? Will continue to have US presence in West Asia in a respectable place? That remains to be seen, and the President Biden's meeting with Saudi Crown Prince in that direction should be seen as a positive gesture from both the sides, that they did engage on the sidelines of this meeting. In fact, there has been a press release also from the State Department where it has said about this connectivity project that was signed between President Biden and the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.